What's up, guys? Christian here with River Pools. We're at the Atlantic City Pool and Spa Show this week and had the opportunity and the privilege to meet Craig Wooster with Pool Specialist out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And what's interesting about Craig is that his company is a pool service company. He does not install pools of any type. He doesn't sell pools. He's not a dealer of ours. And Greg, we wanted to take an opportunity. You've been a couple of sessions that we've led here at the Pool and Spa Show, and you've asked some really intriguing questions. And we wanted to get your perspective as a service company owner on fiberglass pools.
Okay.
What are you seeing out in the market?
All right. So fiberglass pools probably represent 20% of the pools that we service. Mm-hmm. We service over 300 pools a week. We have a separate set of repair customers that exceeds 1,000. So we see the gamut.
Right.
We see the good installers, we see the bad installers, the things that are done right, things that are done wrong. Mm-hmm. I have an engineering background, so I'm very meticulous about things. I also want to understand everything, and when it fails, I want to know why it failed and what went wrong.
Right.
We do a lot of pool inspections, and what I found through doing the pool inspections is the fiberglass pools, they hold up really well. They're easy to maintain. Chemically wise, it's a whole lot easier to balance your chemicals, keep them balanced.
Right.
So I'm a proponent of fiberglass pools. Mm-hmm. The downside of them, as you probably know, is size. Right. Customers say, well, I want a huge pool,
right,
and you can only get a fiberglass pool that's so
and
big.
You can't customize them either. Well,
right.
You pick a shape.
That's
the shape you get.
You're done.
Right.
But the shapes have been gotten a whole lot better. They've got a whole lot of nice features with the tanning shelves, mm-hmm, things of that nature. So you're seeing more and more people go to the fiberglass. Mm-hmm. I tend to encourage people to go to the fiberglass, just because if you look at fiberglass versus vinyl, the vinyl, even if you do everything right with the vinyl, and we install vinyl liners, mm-hmm, you're gonna get 5 to 8 years out of it.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's what we're seing as well, and we do have folks that that comment on our YouTube channel that they're getting 15, 20 years out of a liner, but the norm we see is in that 5 to 9 or 5 to 8 year range on a liner.
There's things that years ago they were able to put in liners, mm-hmm, and they're not allowed to put them in anymore. The reality is, when I was 7 years old, my parents put a vinyl liner pool in my backyard. Mm-hmm. I was 48 before that liner went bad. Mm-hmm. That sounds incredible. Right. And then you talk to people, well, my liner's 20 years old, and you tell them, I'm gonna get 5 years out of my next liner. They're like, well, why did I get 20? Well, because you can't do this, you can't do that.
Right.
And so we're under controls with that. You don't run into those barriers with the fiberglass pools. Mm-hmm. However, the problem is, the pool company that installed the vinyl liner pool probably, unless they've gone for the proper training, doesn't have the technology to install the fiberglass pool.
Right.
There's a lot of particulars with it.
It's a different process.
And we see a lot of fiberglass pools where the step is out of the water and the skimmer is underwater.
Right, so
and so it's not set level. We see them bowed because, river pools requires you to backfill with gravel.
Right.
Well, a lot of the builders will backfill with clay, and clay is twice as heavy as water.
Right.
So in some cases, we've even seen pools buckle in and collapse.
Right. I was going to ask, what sort of repairs are you following up with your company and making due to poor installation practices?
We usually farm that out just because of the complexity of repairing the fiberglass.
Sure.
So
but you're diagnosing the problem.
We're diagnosing the problem.
Right, and what types of things are you seeing, again, due to poor installation practices?
We're seeing settling, pipes cracking.
Yeah.
We're seeing cracks in the fiberglass shell. Mm-hmm. We're seeing buckling, and even differences in the deck, where the deck's pitching because of water that is leaking out of someplace. Mm-hmm. They don't put the fittings in correctly, mm-hmm, and so then you get leaks around the fittings. Right. And now we have to figure out a way to repair those fittings without digging up the back of the pool and really getting into, as I would say, doing it the right way.
Right.
So those are some of the critical features. Mm-hmm. And the proper training on how to put this pool in, and the fact that you have an evac tube so that I can drop a pump down it,
right.
and if I've got to drain and clean this pool, or for some reason,
critical,
right,
to be able to manage that groundwater around it so that you don't get hydrostatic pressure when you drop that water level down. How many pools are you seeing with an access point to the bottom?
In our area, there were only 2 builders that actually do access points to the bottom, mm-hmm. where they actually build a reservoir down there so that it's going to collect water. Mm-hmm. The one no longer does Fiberglass Pools, and then the other one is who we tend to recommend in the area, which is Parrot Bay Pools.
Parrot Bay, yeah.
And they are your installer. Mm-hmm. I'd done an inspection. One of the inspections that I did, I actually put on my website because
right.
it was the pool's so well done that I just had to get excited about it.
They do a great job with an install. Great
job. And so I put this video up about, well, what should you look for in an inspection?
Right.
And done by Parrot Bay.
Right. What were you finding as some of the quality aspects to the job that they did? And recognize we dealers of our products, we insist that they install according to our specifications, but there's additional care taken by the contractors and installers. So a little bit about the inspection. What stood out to you? The
pool's dead level. It's plumbed up correctly. Mm-hmm. You've got good flow in the pool. They use great equipment. Right. With what they do. They know how to plumb up the equipment pad. You've got the evac tube. Mm-hmm. The deck was meticulously done. So everything fit together, it looked good. Mm-hmm. And everything tested good. So you could see the quality difference between them and other fiberglass installers in our area. Right. That were installing other pools. The finish of the pool, mm-hmm. I think hands down, River Pools has the best finish on the pools.
Thank you.
And one of the most durable. With some of the other manufacturers, what we see is we get chalking mm-hmm. of the fiberglass because the gel coat wasn't done exactly right. Mm-hmm. We get spider cracking in the gel coat, right. Which...
What is that? What can that lead to?
Oh, that's going to lead, you could get algae buildup in it, and getting rid of that algae and the spider cracking is next to impossible. Mm-hmm. You effectively have to drain the pool, bleach it, get rid of it, and refill the pool. Right. If you want to get rid of it permanently, then you're going to have to sand down the whole pool, and of course you can't gel coat in the field, right. So now you're really going to paint it.
Right, you got to finish with something like an eco finish or
yeah.
Right.
And there you have a very limited life on it. Now you might as well have a vinyl pool mm-hmm. if you're going to do something like that. And we don't see that with the river pools. So the finishes tend to be a lot more durable. It's a pretty pool.
Thank you.
So,
well, good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about your channel. You do a lot of work. You pull these videos on your website.
Yes.
But you do a lot of work in educating the consumer.
Right.
Around various issues they may encounter. As no pool owner will ever own a pool without having something
problems.
Right. At some point.
This is true.
A lot of things can be remedied by the homeowner. With a little bit of help, with a tutorial on video. And so what's the type of content you create? What are the more popular videos on
Probably the inspection video is one of the more popular.
Right.
And it's just because people buy a new house or they're buying a new house. Right. And it's like, oh, well, I got to get the pool inspected. Mm-hmm. Well, most pool inspections, they don't check to see, well, is the pool really leaking, mm-hmm. right? Is the bonding really there? Right. So, okay, there's a bonding wire that comes up, but is it connected? So those are some critical things. So they come in to watch the pool inspections, and a lot of the realtors put them to that. Mm-hmm. So that's a real popular one. And then every time we get a customer that calls up and says, oh, well, this happened, how do I fix it? And yeah, I can send, in a lot of cases, I can send somebody out and charge them, and I'm going to charge them typical service call, which is a lot of money. Or I can say, all right, well, go to my website and watch this video. Right. Real popular one would be the iAqualink. Mm-hmm. So great product, but let's just say you change your Wi-Fi. Well, now all of a sudden it doesn't work. Right. So how do I reconnect my Wi-Fi? Right. So I do instructional videos on that. They're just all basic pools. I try to keep them short and simple, mm-hmm. to the point, so that people can come on and learn what they need to learn. Right.
Last question for you, and I want the honest answer here. If you were going to build a new house tomorrow, what kind of pool would you put in the backyard?
If I was building a house at this stage in my life, I don't need a big pool. I'd put a fiberglass pool in.
Okay.
Just because from a service company standpoint, they have the least amount of problems. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like gunite pools and I like plaster.
There's a use case for each of them.
There is. Everything has a use case. But from a water chemistry standpoint, there are a lot more maintenance. You've got this cementitious surface that is requires a lot more care.
It does.
And the water chemistry has to be a lot more meticulous for it to stay stable.
Yeah, and it's easy for me to agree with that. Obviously, we're a fiberglass company, but I spent years managing a commercial outdoor pool. Those are always gunite.
Right.
I had a team of lifeguards. I had managers and lead lifeguards, and so I personally have managed a gunite pool, the commercial scale, and understand how much work goes into it. Even we had low bather loads throughout a week. Right, there's a tremendous amount of maintenance that goes into it.
You know, when you're talking about a plaster surface, whether you want to talk about the typical old school marcite or quartz or granite or the PebbleTech, they all have their own issues, and they're put together with cement. And if the cement's not fresh and everything works, you can get spots in the pool that are darker and lighter because they're absorbing water or not absorbing water.
Right.
If you get any type of, say your pH goes high, then you get calcification on the surface.
Right.
And so now all of a sudden it's light. If your pH goes too low, it etches it. So with a fiberglass pool, you have a lot more variables.
There's more leeway.
There's more leeway.
A little more forgiving to the homeowner.
To the
who is
homeowner.
not a seasoned, pool chemist.
Expert.
Yeah,
right. And quite honestly, a lot of people that own fiberglass pools don't require a service company.
Right.
Where if you have a gunite pool, you almost have to have a service company.
Yeah. We've even seen sometimes, and we do a lot to really educate the homeowner of the pools that we manufacture. It's not a set it and forget it pool. All pools need attention.
Right.
You have to pay attention to your chemistry. You can't just let the chlorine creep up and up and up and up. That's not a safe situation either. But they are very, very low maintenance. They're far easier to maintain, and just a pleasant swim experience all the way around.
And if they're built right, and the flow in the pool is right, and the water level's maintained right, if you're running the pool, it's taking all the debris off the top of the pool with the skimmer. It doesn't fall to the bottom. You don't have to vacuum it as much. It's just a really nice way to keep it going.
Great. Craig, tell the folks, what's your website?
Website is Pool Specialists, that's plural.com. You can go on there and there's a learning hub. You can go in there and you see all the articles and videos and just a whole lot of training.
How many videos have you made?
Probably 10, 12 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a high school girl that puts them together for me.
Yeah.
And she does a great job. And
good.
We just keep building them and building them.
Yeah, that's right. The thing is to give the answer to the question that the folks are asking. Give them some help.
Give them some help.
Yeah.
And like I know I get hits from all over the country.
Yeah.
And every now and then people will call me up, and I'm glad to help them out.
Very good.
So it's education.
Yeah, Craig, thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure
Appreciate
meeting you.
it. It's great.
Hopefully we'll get a chance to work with you soon. I feel like there's some opportunities here.
Oh yeah.
On the education side, consumers, business owners alike. I'm Christian with the River Pools. This is Craig Wooster with Pool Specialist, and we'll see you guys in a future video.